What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Reel Fanatics. I'm your host, Farron, here with my man Vito. And we had initially planned on discussing some other things in today's episode, but some breaking news kind of hit, which kind of caused us to pivot. And it's some news that I think if you've been paying attention to the situation, you were probably anticipating. And that is that Marvel has officially removed Blade from its release schedule. It was initially slated to release November 7th of 2025. It has now been taken off the release schedule, which leaves us with, I think, only two or three Marvel films being released next year. I know we have Fantastic Four. I know we have Captain America 4. And I believe there was supposed to be a third one as well,
The
outside of Blade. I
the
think there was supposed to be a third film coming out next year as well.
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts, correct. So this is some news we were expecting. At least I was, and I'm sure most other people who've been paying attention to the situation probably anticipated this news as well. It's just very
Before
shocking
you jump into that
that we're
news,
here. But go ahead.
and we usually talk a little bit beforehand before we so we can have our some concise thoughts when we talk to y'all. But I just remembered this. I don't know if you've seen a Spider-Man 4
Mm-hmm.
and the Doctor Strange um were announced. So was third Doctor Strange? Yeah. Third
Yeah,
Doctor Strange. So I don't know if you've seen those have been announced. Tom Holland does have the script for the new Spider-Man.
I did see that him
Okay.
and Zendaya got the new script for
Yeah,
Spider-Man
yeah.
4. I did see that.
Fingers crossed, 26, 27, we'll be getting a new Spider-Man movie. Um
There's
I'm
some
ex-
rumors floating around about that Spider-Man 4 is supposed to be very multiverse centric. Um,
again.
so yeah, that's what I've been from. Granted, it's internet rumors, so you
Right,
can't
right,
put
right.
too much stock into them. But it's been a consistent rumor that I've been seeing floating around from for a while now. And it would make sense given the timing of when Spider-Man 4 will potentially come out. It would be in the
Mm,
Doomsday Secret War
yeah.
bubble. It will be kind of sandwiched between those two.
Because it's supposed
So
to lead up to. I think they said it's supposed to lead up,
to Secret
lead
Wars.
into Doomsday as well. So
Oh, okay. In that case, then I could see it being a multiverse film. And there's some other connections that I think it could make, but I'm gonna wait until another Marvel film that's supposed to release this week comes out because I think it's connected to that a little bit. Venom releases this week.
ah,
Yeah, yeah. I
forgot all
think
about
there's
it.
some. I think there's some connections between what we're gonna see in Venom to what we might potentially see in Spider-Man 4. But I don't want to jump the gun there just yet. They're just
Okay,
theories in my head, but I think there's a some breadcrumbs and some threads that might lead to something pretty interesting.
okay. I did
Um,
want to get that out the way just because I said
yes.
I know Blade's gone. Blade, I dropped it. The Blade news is pretty heavy, man.
Yeah,
Like you
it's
said,
it's
it's
it's pretty
something
heavy.
we were going back and forth saying this though. Like what 3 4 directors they've been through.
Two so far, and it doesn't
Two
have a director currently.
script.
Five. It's been
So
five script rewrites. So
we've been expecting it, and I think we were all looking at and Wesley Snipes did it, or Ryan Reynolds did it as Deadpool when Wesley Snipes said, "There's only one
only one
Blade. There'll only
blade. There's
ever be
only
one
going to be
Blade."
one blade.
And Wesley Snipes looked like, "Is somebody gonna tell him?" And
That
somebody
was
gonna tell.
foreshadowing. Little did we know.
Right, we were wrong. As the audience, we
Yeah,
know that there's a Blade in production or attempting to start production,
yeah,
and I mean, at this point, he broke the fifth wall.
yeah.
Okay?
I want to
He's
give
talking to our
like some
audience.
context though, just so people fully understand just how badly the production on this Blade film has gone. Because I don't, people have just been like kind of, it's been like a background story. I don't think
Hmm.
not a lot of people until today's news have really been like paying attention to the whole process. Keep in mind, we initially heard Mahershala Ali was going to play Blade. That announcement was made at Comic Con of 2019. I was still in college. Comic-Con in 2019 was when that announcement was made that Mahershala Ali was going to play Blade. The film was originally supposed to release in 2023. Here are the other films slash TV shows that were announced with Blade in 2019. I'm gonna give you the full list. Eternals has been shot, released, and is now on streaming.
Hold on, I do want to mention though, he
But go ahead.
did show up
No,
at
he
the end of
didn't.
Eternals.
He didn't. We heard his voice, but you did not see Mahershala
Man, he
Ali.
showed up. He was there.
We still have not seen
We
Mahershala
didn't
Ali on
see
screen
him,
as
but
Blade.
Blade is in the MCU. Okay.
Technically, yes. That if you want to count that, if you want to do semantics and count that post credit scene in Eternals, you can.
You're doing
I'm
semantics.
not-
He's there. He's in the
there.
MCU. His character is there.
He is, yes. I just don't think I can really like fully count that unless you see like, oh yeah,
again,
we're showing him.
you're doing that thing where you're like, well, yeah, but I don't like it. No, he's in the fucking MCU. All right,
You're right. I don't like it, so that's not, to me. It don't count. But technically, you're right. But in my mind, that does not count. This is a personal vendetta. You're correct. I'm glad you called that out, so we can clarify. This is just my personal preference. You are correct. But Eternals, that's one. Falcon and Winter Soldier. Shang-Chi, which a sequel has already been announced for that.
Mm-hmm.
WandaVision. Loki, season 1 of Loki. We've already seen season 2. Season 1 of What If. Season 1 of What If, which also now has a season 2.
Season 2.
Doctor Strange 2. You just said we're already talking about Doctor Strange 3. Hawkeye. Thor 4.
Hawkeye the
and
show?
Black Widow.
Or
yes,
the movie?
Hawkeye the show.
Oh, okay. Whew.
Thor 4, Thor Love and Thunder, and Black Widow. Those were all of the film / TV shows that were announced with Blade. Every single one of them
also announced
has been shot and released.
Thor movie. So
at this point, we have been through 2 different directors, both of whom have stepped down, 5 different rewrites of the script, and every film and TV show that was announced alongside of it has been shot, released in theaters or on Disney Plus, and now all of them are available on streaming in some capacity. And we still don't have a script, a fully done script yet for Blade. And it hasn't, not a still frame has been shot. Nothing has been put on camera for this film yet.
Now you can say it. Blade has not been on film. He has not showed up in anything.
Anything.
Like I said, he was in the Eternals, but they said, I thought we seen the back of his head.
No, you just saw, you only saw
Buddy with the
Kit
sword.
Harington. You saw Kit Harington, and then he was about to touch the sword. That's what you heard. Are you sure you're ready for that? And then his character turned, and the camera cuts. So, but obviously, like, if you knew, it was like, oh, okay, that was Blade. And I'm expecting they're going to use that as a launching pad to give us Midnight Suns and a bunch of other things. Like, I was really expecting Marvel to use that as a launching pad.
Because we got a Midnight Suns video game shortly after that, I believe.
Yeah, that was around the time the Midnight Suns game released. And I believe in the initial script of Blade, Lilith was supposed to be the villain. So, you know, there's some ties there as well. But it's kind of crazy when you look at all of the facts we have available to us about this movie and the fact that we still haven't gotten it. This will probably go down as one of the biggest embarrassments production-wise that Marvel has dealt with. I only thing even remotely close to this I can think of is the earlier days of the MCU when Edgar Wright was announced that he was supposed to direct Ant-Man, and they made a big deal out of it. Edgar Wright's directing Ant-Man. He's popping up doing, you know, promos for it, and then we get midway through the MCU. We've already got our first Avengers movie. It's time for Ant-Man to come out, or, you know, that we're starting to start shooting for Ant-Man. Oh, by the way, y'all, Edgar Wright's not directing it anymore. It's Peyton Reed. After we just did all this promo about Edgar Reed directing it. That's the only thing I can think of that's remotely comparable to this. And even that's nowhere near the level of embarrassing that this is, because Ant-Man ultimately got made and is a trilogy now.
And I want to say, you know, like I said, you're talking about Marvel specifically, but I want to compare it to the DCU. Now, where the Marvel is different than the DCU in this aspect was the MCU's already been, it's already been going. There's already foundation laid. When DC did this, and they did this with the Batman, okay? I'm sorry, with Batman, with Ben Affleck's Batman.
That was supposed to be a Ben Affleck
It's
movie
supposed to be
directed
a
by
Ben
Ben
Affleck,
Affleck.
and again, it wasn't originally supposed to be directed by him, but again, rewrites and all these things happened. Then the movie came out, people didn't like it,
And then
you
he
know,
drops out as
he
Batman.
drops out,
Yeah.
we don't we and I'm wondering how long before Mahershala Ali drops out as Blade, because again, Blade
I'm
is
surprised he
a
hasn't already.
and he, I think he said before that he's older, so he's
He's 50.
he gonna be
He's 50.
a 55, 60-year-old Blade. He's no Wesley Snipes, okay. I do want to. Wesley Snipes is a martial artist, okay. He's not, a actor who took martial arts lessons. Wesley Snipes trains in martial. He trained in martial arts as well. That's something he continued doing. And again, Blade is something that he wanted to do. Blade is a historic character, one of the most prominent black superheroes in, not just Marvel comic books, but in comics all together, but especially Marvel comic books. He's one of the more prominent black superheroes. You got him,
Hmm.
Black Panther, you got the Falcon,
And Luke
and Luke
Cage, if you want to
Cage,
do a deep dive. Yeah.
and Luke Cage. I don't know how I forgot about Luke Cage. I would throw him over Falcon, honestly.
Yeah,
Um,
that I would say he's above Falcon.
but I'm really interested to see how long he's going to stay, if he's going to stay, because like I said, if he's 50 now,
Yeah, man.
and by the time we get this, listen, if they happen to announce this movie again, you know, 2020, end of 2027, 2028, at this
That's
point,
the best you're looking at right
I'm
now,
not. I'm
probably.
not. Like I said, they took it off of 2025. I'm not seeing it in 2026 at all. I'm not
No,
seeing it, because if
no.
there's this many issues already, um,
And by that time, you're focused on Doomsday and Secret Wars. Like, you're not thinking
so
about
so
Blade.
so it's hard to kind of. It's not hard to do it, and again, I don't mind when they veer off from the story just a bit. I have an issue with Marvel when this main story is going on, and then there's 13 different other stories going on again, because
Hmm.
they're putting out so much stuff. But Doomsday comes out, and then they put out a Blade movie, and it's focusing on something completely different, has nothing to do with Doomsday. I would be fine with that. I would be fine with him not showing up in Doomsday, but knowing, or it taking place before Doomsday, but it
Hmm.
taking place outside of the Doomsday event. Okay. Um, to be honest, I just want to see him in the MCU. I don't care when they do it. I don't care how they do it. Um, I do like Mahershala Ali as an actor. I would have liked to see him as Blade. I don't think we're going to have Blade in the MCU as. I don't think we're going to have Mahershala Ali in the MCU as Blade, because Blade is not something that they're going to do one of.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. I don't think, to be honest, and like thinking about this from Hershey Ali's
I'm
perspective,
sorry, one more thing, one more
understanding.
thing.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
it's a very physical role.
Yes,
And
he's
that's
50.
why I said it.
Yeah,
He, like you said, he's 50, and it's a very
it's a
physical role.
physically demanding role
And
to
you can
play
even
Blade.
see, again, Wesley Snipes is a martial artist. Michael Jai White is a martial artist that does movies. Even when you look at Wesley Snipes' Blade in his past Deadpool movie, you didn't see him as physical as you did
No, he
in the
didn't.
Blade movies in the late 90s, early 2000s.
2000.
You
Yeah,
don't see, when you see Michael Jai White in movies now, you don't see him as physical as he used to be, because again, he's older. You're prone to, injuries, and they're
hmm,
going to last longer.
yeah.
So that's why I say, I don't see him being in the MCU as Blade.
I don't think so either. Even just past the age thing, right? Like even just putting that aside, if you're an actor the caliber of Mahershala Ali, you have won an Oscar. You've been nominated for other Oscars. You are the caliber of actor that doesn't necessarily like having to be held up by a
Yeah.
project like this. Keep in mind, this was announced in 2019, meaning he signed a contract. This was announced in summer of 2019, meaning he signed a contract with Marvel somewhere within that time frame.
I'm gonna say
somewhere
like 2000. If it's summer of 2019, I'm gonna say the
yeah,
end of 2018.
was probably when he signed the contract.
Yeah.
End of 2018, probably like first quarter 2019 at the latest, was when he signed the
So
contract.
how much did he put on hold for?
That was the point I'm getting at. Like, he's probably still getting offered roles, and he's
Mhm.
probably having to turn them down because no, I have this time set aside to film Blade, and now here we are 5 years later, and we still don't even have a full functioning script for this film or a director, and now the release date's been pulled. Like, if I'm Mahershala Ali, I'm not trying to, and I'm 50. I don't want my career still being on hold for this film that's probably not going to happen at this point.
Yeah.
So from his perspective, I'm surprised he stuck around this long. Honestly, and he's, you know, there have been stories of him expressing frustration with
Yeah.
the process of this Blade movie and how things are going, and he didn't like the earlier versions of the scripts. He didn't like how the character was being portrayed, and he was frustrated after they lost their first director, and now you've lost your second director. I don't see a world where he sticks around and tries to do, even if a Blade film gets made in any capacity. I don't see a world where he sticks around to see it through. I think he's going to figure out a way to get out of this. And I think if we do see a Blade movie, it will be someone else playing Blade, which is a shame. I was really looking forward to Mahershala Ali as Blade. I think even you can make a less physically demanding Blade film in today's world with the
Yeah.
level of CGI we have. And considering that this version of Blade was probably going to look very different than the late 90s, early 2000s version that we got that was very martial arts centric. I think that was just more so the fact that you have Wesley Snipes playing this character. So let's, highlight some of his
Yeah.
strengths. I think this version of Blade was probably going to be a lot more CGI heavy. There's probably going to be a lot of things where you could probably work around the fact that you're dealing with an older actor. Because even at the time of this film being announced, I want to say Mahershala Ali was like 44 or 45.
Would have to be. Yeah.
Yeah, so like either way, you were still going to be dealing with, in terms of doing a role that's physically demanding, you were going to be dealing with an older actor. So either way, you were going to have to work around that. But I just don't see a world where now the earliest, like you said, that we would even be considering getting a Blade film at this point would be 2027, 2028 at the earliest. And that's just if everything goes well. And
Right.
assuming no other setbacks, which we've had several at this point for this project.
Because like you said, they had money put up for this to do this, and then of course they have their overage. But at this point, bad script or
Mm-hmm.
not perfect script or close to perfect script. No director, second director, looking for a third. You know, and like I said, he's getting older. And again, they're gonna push out more than one Blade movie. It's not going to just be one Blade movie, and he's getting older.
Honestly, at this point, with the process,
Just do one.
with the way this process has gone, I think Marvel taking Blade off the release schedule is them waving the white flag on this project and saying we're done. We're throwing our hands up. We've tried. Just get rid. I don't think we're getting a Blade movie. Candidly, I don't think we're getting one.
I,
If we do, I'd be surprised if they attempt to go for a sequel. This is probably going to be a one and done. If we do get a Blade film.
it's gonna have to be It's gonna have to be Black Panther 1 type deal.
Yeah, it would have to make that kind of money for them to go. All right,
for them to
we're
do
willing
a
to run
second.
it back. Yes, agreed.
And again, I just don't see. I hope he doesn't. I mean, honestly, like you said, I would love to see him as Blade, but also there are a lot of young. I don't want to say just young, but younger um upcoming actors that excuse me could do the job, could fill in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking about fucking what's the British fuck that we just watched in the Rebel Ridge.
Oh, who's playing Jonathan?
Yeah, who's gonna be John Stewart? Not talking about him. Okay,
Pierce is
Aaron Pierce.
Aaron Pierce, thank you. Yes.
There's a lot of dark skinned actors, which Blade is a dark skinned black man. They can play him. And again, I'm hoping these dark skinned actors that I've seen in things aren't British.
You just have this personal vendetta.
They're taking American jobs.
Now who sounds like a Republican? You want to talk about me?
They come into this country, taking our goddamn jobs. No, so Blade, Blade, I wouldn't have an issue with him being British,
Yeah.
as big of an issue because,
At this point, just give us something.
I mean, because his backstory, Blade, Blade is Chicago, right?
Originally, I'm not. I know he's
I
supposed
know
to
he's
be like old.
yeah, but he does New
I know
York a
that
lot,
much.
But
Yeah.
my point is, his character isn't rooted in
It ain't like Luke Cage in Harlem, where it's
yeah,
like he has a
he's not
distinct
a
place
Luke
where he
Cage in
hails
Harlem.
from.
He
Yeah.
doesn't, he doesn't deal with or again his stories. And again, he's been out since the '60s, so he's had lots of stories. But his stories aren't rooted in the racism this, racism that type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, like I said, Luke Cage deals with it, Falcon deals with it. Their characters were created in those times. Where
Yeah.
Blade is a vampire hunter. He's a partial vampire.
Yeah.
So, that's why I say that. So you can have them playing that role, and they don't particularly need that upbringing. Which again, that's just a preference thing for me. I would
Yeah.
prefer, there's plenty of American actors out there that you can use.
It's there. It's a good thing to speculate about who could replace him. I don't even want to go that far because I genuinely don't think we're getting this movie. I don't think we're getting a Blade movie. Like what all and I'm trust me, no one's more disappointed than me because when Mahershala Ali was announced as Blade, immediately every other film they announced at that 2019 Comic-Con, I stopped caring about. I was like, I want to see Mahershala Ali as Blade. I don't give a damn about no Doctor Strange 2. I don't give a damn about no Thor 4. Everything else y'all just announced, to hell with it. I want to see Mahershala Ali as Blade. So to see the production hell this film has been in, it's been particularly frustrating for me, especially as I see these lesser films get made. I mean, out of all the movies I just listed, that were announced along with Blade, which film are you looking at and going, oh, yeah, that was a slapper? Shang-Chi? That's it. Like, which of these movies did you see and go, oh, yeah, that was a slapper?
Okay.
Marvel. Like, I mean, shows, I'll say, the shows actually from the initial
The
group
shows
weren't
are
terrible.
fire.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier was good. Loki season 1 and 2 I enjoyed.
I still haven't
WandaVision
watched
was
two.
very good. And I haven't seen season 2 of What If, but I've seen season 1 of What If, and I
So
particularly
I
enjoyed it.
seen season 2 of What If. I will say I liked season 2 of What If. I know I'm jumping
No, I mean I'm
off of
jumping. I
topic,
just
but
decided to go through all the other things that
I
were
did. I
announced.
like season 2 of What If. I thought they were gonna start a new What If. Um, I thought they were gonna start a new What If storyline. They kind of continued with the same they started a new storyline but with the same
The
characters.
same characters.
So
Okay.
it's the Captain Carter, the
Yeah.
that Doctor Strange, and
The
they
evil, but not really evil Doctor
yeah,
Strange.
and
Yeah.
it may have only been those two that I can't remember. It's been a minute that I watched it, but I thought they were going to be using new characters and doing a new What If storyline. That's not what
Yeah.
they did. It was still good. I liked it. Um, I did feel like it left something to be desired. Can't tell you what it is
Yeah.
because it was. I don't want to say it was like it was amazing, but it was okay. It was good. I watched it. It will make me watch a third season.
But
Um,
here's the thing about everything you just said, and I'm glad to hear you enjoyed season 2 of What If. But we are talking about season 2 and season 3 of a show where the first season that hadn't even been released yet was announced with the film we're talking about right now. And the film we're talking about right now doesn't have a script
and
yet.
again, remember I
It's
said
mind blowing.
they're
This is
they're
mind
they're,
blowing.
they're talking about Thor 5 now.
Everything on here except for Eternals has a sequel announced.
So
Every film on it and Black Widow, but every film on here, Doctor Strange is getting a sequel.
shit, you know what?
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Captain America 4, I'm counting that as
I'm
a
gonna
sequel
say
to that.
you're counting that as a sequel. I'm going to count the Thunderbolts as the sequel to Black Widow.
That will work too. Either way, there's a continuation of. I'll give you one better to stay consistent. Outside of Eternals, all the characters introduced in these properties have something announced that we know they're going to be in. We know we're going to see Kate Bishop from Hawkeye again. We know we're going to see the characters from Black Widow and Thunderbolts.
Mm-hmm.
Thor 5, obviously Thor's coming back. We know we're getting a Doctor Strange 2 or 3. Loki is rumored to be in Secret Wars, rumored. But granted, the story of Loki, I assume, is going to have some bearing on what we see later. Hell, the story of Loki has already had a bearing because the TVA was in Deadpool and Wolverine. So trails from that show are already in other parts of the MCU. WandaVision, we saw the continuation of that story in Doctor Strange, and I haven't been watching Agatha, but from what I've heard, there's threads from that show in Agatha as well, which makes sense.
I forgot that's been announced after that and came out as well. And
there's a lot of things that have been announced after Blade that have been released.
I think they're almost done with that season too. We'll have to talk about that later because I also have not watched it.
I haven't either. I've been hearing good things though. I will say, which surprised me. I wasn't expecting much out of that show
at all.
And Shang-Chi has a sequel. I think I already mentioned that. But literally everything on here outside of Eternals, the Eternals is really the only thing on here that was really a one and done. And I don't really see us revisiting those characters, honestly, outside of the Celestials.
I don't know, man.
I think we'll see the Celestials again. I don't think we'll see any of the Eternals again.
I think we may see. I don't think we'll see them in their. Let me say this, and I would like to see an Eternals too.
I would too, actually.
I would like to see Eternals. It done by someone else. I didn't hate the Eternals. I just didn't.
I actually liked Eternals.
I just didn't think it was as good as it could have been. But also, this is a team project done after Endgame, and I think everybody's just honestly was just worn out with with these movies. And then you got this where a lot of people didn't know the characters. Some people still don't know the characters.
I don't.
You had a script that was overcoming some. I'm mispronouncing the word. And I know the word because when I'm playing Fallout, I'm always I'm playing Fallout or Skyrim. I gotta walk very slowly because I'm that word. So
I'm trying to think of the word now. Damn, you got me thinking.
Overcumbersome. Oh man. I'm typing it.
I promise you we have degrees, y'all. I promise you. I promise y'all, both the people on this episode right now are college educated. I promise you.
I can't even listen. This how bad I'm trying to type it in and it's coming out wrong. So I'm not even about to try no more and embarrass myself. But the point I'm getting at, it was a lot going on in that story, man. Yeah. Like again, the main bad guy in the story was not the main bad guy they thought it was going to be. Again, it opened this up to 3 movies: a sequel to the Eternals, Blade, and
not that no more.
And the
don't open up to no Blade,
the Black Knight. You know, and that's
what happened with that. That's another thread.
That's just the ones that were obvious.
Yeah, I think that movie's kind of cursed. All the threads from that movie are dead now.
Well, I was thinking that he would have ended up in Blade somehow, some way.
That would make sense. I think, granted, we have not heard a peep about anything Black Knight related since that film. We know we're not getting Blade anymore. And Eternals 2 was taken off the release schedule, or at least like it's not being produced anymore. Like we know Eternals 2 is not happening. So really all the threads from that movie have been kind of killed off. And to this day, we have not addressed the fact there's a giant celestial coming out of the ocean.
They mentioned it.
Not been addressed.
You didn't watch the trailer.
For Captain America 4, yes.
Come on,
okay.
Come on, man. Yes, it's too much going on, but you got to remember, bro.
That slipped my mind. But
people been on their ass about that. Yeah, like
they finally addressed the fact that
should have been in Spider-Man, Deadpool.
That should have been addressed. Like that
Hawkeye. Like what?
Like someone should have addressed that. That's like too big of an event for like no one in this interconnected universe to acknowledge. There's a giant alien coming out of the ground.
Because they also, the Eternals did all their fighting. Like, I don't want to say they were doing it in secret, but
it was kind of secluded.
Yeah, they were secretly fighting. So it's not like they're like, oh,
people didn't know about this threat.
Yeah, they're not like, oh, some heroes were fighting and this happened. No.
People just turned on the TV and just saw like, what the
giant glacier comes up and it's a fucking hand. And again, the only people that's going to know that it's a celestial, Thor,
And Doctor
Guardians of the
Strange.
Galaxy, maybe
Well, Guardians of the
Strange.
Galaxy, yeah. I feel like Doctor Strange would know. He has a lot of cosmic knowledge.
He,
If you knew what the Infinity Stones were and had all of that knowledge, I imagine he's aware of what the
but he also
Celestials
didn't
are.
know who Thanos was.
That's fair. That's fair. That
So
is
again,
fair.
I'm
That is
thinking
fair.
he might not even know who the Celestials are. And I'm saying,
Yeah.
so he has cosmic knowledge, and again, but
Yeah.
we know he's been gaining knowledge as each film as well. So
Yeah.
he gained more knowledge in Avengers. He knew things. Then he
Mm-hmm.
knew about some of the Infinity Stones, but also I think he has more knowledge of ancient things
Yeah.
and otherworldly things than he does
It's
cosmic.
cosmic. That makes sense. That makes sense. That fits. I think you're right. Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor would be like the shoe ins
Yeah,
to
but like
know.
they
Well, with
know for
Guardians of the Galaxy,
sure.
we've seen Celestials in Guardians of the
Exactly.
Galaxy,
So
so
like I
yeah.
said, and I'm not taking away from Doctor Strange because he may know. Um I guarantee you Wong probably knows though.
Wong
so
knows everything.
so
Wong.
I think Strange may know, and I know we way off topic of talking about Blade because again it's just
The film's not happening, so
yeah.
spoiler
What
alert,
is it
y'all.
about?
Sorry, spoiler alert, y'all. We're not getting Blade. Like
What
it's
is
just
it?
not.
But
It's not happening.
I definitely think he may know, but Thor and the Guardians are going to be the subject matter experts on Celestials.
So what I guess to kind of keep things on the topic of Blade and kind of branch the conversation out because there's not really much else to say about the film not happening. It's just at this point Marvel has waved the white flag
And
on
we're
Blade,
hurt
and
about it. We are hurt
we are
about it.
definitely hurt about it because
Farhan's
I like
devastated.
I was really looking forward to this film. But honestly, there's a lot of breadcrumbs. I was expecting that I was expecting Blade to kind of launch. Like I was expecting Blade to kind of get, lead into whatever a Midnight Sun team up would
Okay,
be.
okay, okay.
Like that to me would be like the most logical thing. I was expecting Blade because there are certain films that set up certain segments of the MCU, right? So you have things like Daredevil and things like Luke Cage to set up the street level, right? You have things like Guardians of the Galaxy that set up your cosmic world. That's where you start introducing things like the Celestials and things like that, right? You start introducing concepts like that in those films. You got things like Doctor Strange to introduce the magic side of things. Like when new characters are introduced in the MCU, they are introducing new concepts into the MCU more than likely, especially if it's a new major character. And one era of the MCU that hadn't really been explored was the quote unquote horror side. Granted, we got Werewolf by Night, but Blade would have been like the big introduction
Mm-hmm.
to,
The dark
the
mystic stuff.
vampires,
Yeah.
your ghost riders and all that. Those kind of characters I think would have been set up through Blade. So now that film is not happening, and there's still rumors circling that Marvel wants to do a Midnight Suns film, and that they still want to tap into that world. Which we already have Moon Knight in the MCU, so we have at least one member of that group already introduced. Where does Marvel go from here? Now that we're not getting Blade, what are some characters you think would be reasonable replacements, or characters that you think would fit in introducing that side of Marvel, if that's even something they still want to do, which we don't know
Right.
at this point?
Um, real quick, it's over cumbersome.
Over cumbersome. Okay.
I don't know if I said that the first time. I don't know if that's what I was saying. I don't remember because I felt
You
so
were close.
stupid.
You were getting there.
Trying
you
to
were
say
you were on the right track.
it. That's honestly
Ghost Rider is one of the few that comes to my mind.
he's the again. So Ghost Rider's the one, and because Marvel was so fractured at the beginning of the MCU. And I mean that with TV shows, I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
the Netflix shows, the
Yeah,
TV shows, the
yeah,
movies.
yeah.
Um, we still don't know they've been going back and forth on
They've been
what's canon,
retconning some
what's not
stuff.
canon.
Yeah, they've
So
been
they
retconning some
said
stuff.
where they said the Agents of Shield was canon. At first it wasn't, then it was, then it wasn't again. Now they're saying again that it is canon and that it's part of the MCU. We've had a Ghost Rider. Yeah,
Yeah,
Robbie. Is it Robbie Reyes?
Robbie Reyes.
We
But I'm
had Robbie
saying
Reyes,
like the
and
traditional
you're
version
talking
of
about
Ghost
Johnny
Rider that we're used.
Blaze.
Yeah, I'm talking about Johnny Blaze
Well,
Ghost Rider.
that's
Yes.
why I'm bringing it up. You know,
Yeah.
if he is canon, we have we have a Ghost Rider, and again, sometimes Johnny Blaze is dead, so Robbie Reyes is Ghost Rider. Sometimes
Hmm.
he's just not a Ghost Rider anymore. Sometimes he's
Yeah,
doing
I'm
his
about to
own
say that
thing.
mantle is passed from person to
Yeah,
person, so it's not
so
beyond the realm of
that we can have
possibility
too.
that we can have another
I
person be Ghost
just and it's
Rider.
crazy because I just seen again. I'm on TikTok a lot. I just seen a page somebody doing a comic book where Johnny Blaze was going to run from a fight. He showed
Hmm.
it was the Midnight Suns video game is what it was. They was they was showing the
Ironically enough,
cinematography from it,
yeah,
and he kind of I don't know what he took from Robbie, but he took I don't think he took his powers. He took some page, but Johnny Blaze still had the the Knight Rider. And again, we see it in the Knight Rider that Nicolas Cage was in. That there was a Ghost Rider on a fucking horse. You know,
yeah. Like
so
there's more than one Ghost Rider
so
even within
it's
that film.
I don't
Yes,
think it's one Ghost Rider at a time. I think it's just because he makes that deal with the devil. He, he
and we're
just
still waiting on Mephisto in the MCU, so this would be a
he's
great. Like that
just
would be a
giving
great way to
it.
introduce him.
He's just giving powers to random daredevils, which is crazy
Hmm.
because he's not the daredevil, but Johnny Blaze was a fucking daredevil.
Yeah, literally.
Um, so I would say that I would love to see the Robbie Reyes as Ghost Rider. Give us Ghost Rider in a car.
Yeah,
And
I
again,
like Robbie Reyes a little bit better
sh-
cinematically than I do Johnny
yeah, but
Blaze.
again,
Honestly,
I like again Nicolas Cage makes some ridiculous movies. But I love the guy as an actor. I do.
yeah.
I would love to
I
see
think
him.
you would have to do a little bit more of a not grounded because it's a dude that makes a deal with the devil and has a flaming
Right.
head. So not grounded, but like a less eccentric Daredevil, a less eccentric Ghost Rider than what we saw Nicolas Cage give
Yeah.
us.
I
It would
mean,
have
he's
to
an
be someone a
eccentric
little,
person though. So
yeah, it would have to be someone a little more who takes themselves a little more seriously on
because
screen.
when you
I
think about
think,
like him, Johnny Blaze is not eccentric like that either. So
yeah, as a character, he's
yeah.
not.
But
So
and again, like I don't know if you watched Agents of Shield, but right.
I did. There was
Okay.
Agents of Shield, like I it's very hard for me to accept Marvel in any way saying that show's not canon,
Yeah.
considering
It
how
started
much that
how it
show
started.
references. Forget how it started. Every season of that show has a direct tie to the MCU in
hmm
some way, shape, or form. Literally, I remember when Captain America: Winter Soldier came out. And the next episode of Agents of
Shield was
Shield
gone.
is all about Shield being taken over by Hydra. I remember saying this. I was
They
like,
were
if you
fighting
haven't
Hydra
seen,
agents inside of Shield.
yes, I remember saying this when that episode came out. I was like, damn, if you ain't see Captain America: Winter Soldier opening weekend and then just watch this episode of Agents of Shield, you just got spoiled. That you know
hmm
everything that happens in that movie now. So it's like Agents of Shield is definitely canon, definitely tied into the MCU very heavily.
Shit, after
Um,
Dark World 2, Lady Sif showed up.
I
Yeah.
forgot about that. Yes, like Lady
You know,
Simpson,
there was a
Nick Fury is in there. Nick Fury is in that show at
there's
some
a
point.
whole so like I said, like it was even crazy that they were doing that, but again, it's because they were being managed by separate
Yeah,
people and
yeah.
but like I said, I like the Robbie Reyes. And again, like you said, he's a more serious he was a more serious character.
Hmm.
Um I would like to see him as Johnny Blaze. I think he could be a gateway to that because again, like you said, where you said I think Doctor Strange could
He
be
could.
the but he already has a certain tone
Hmm.
and it's not really dark. Even with well
It's
even
getting there.
that's what I was gonna say. Even
Yeah.
with what's the movie? Wanda this this
Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness, you
Yeah,
know, it had some dark tones in it. But then you're looking at it, you're like, okay, that was actually pretty goofy. Like her
yeah,
coming through the mirror. Like at first you're like, shit. And then you're like, okay, okay.
yeah,
So you're like
yeah.
all and Doctor and his Doctor Strange is not a serious. He's not serious. He's not serious.
Hmm.
He's like he acts like Tony Stark to me.
He is definitely Magic Tony Stark in terms of personality. He's a little less like braggadocious
Mm-hmm.
than Tony Stark is. But I mean, even if you just follow this iteration of Doctor Strange, like it's a guy whose head is like so high in the clouds he thinks he can do no wrong. And through the accident and having to rebuild himself, he gets humbled a little bit, which I think makes him a little different from Tony Stark because Tony Stark went through a humbling experience and got more arrogant because of it. I think they're a little different in that way, but definitely similar character types to start out. I just think their paths kind of veered a little bit. Plus, Doctor Strange in his mind has a lot more responsibility
Mm-hmm.
as a hero than Tony Stark does. You know what I'm saying? But I think to your point, Doctor Strange will make the most sense as a gateway to introduce that side of the MCU. I just think they have Doctor Strange busy with other
Yeah,
things right now. And I think Blade was intended to serve that role. So you're not going to then turn around and try to switch whatever you were going to do with Doctor Strange for that, and not for this project. That's a lost cause at this point.
but that's
I'm
why I think
wondering at
Ghost
this
Rider would
point,
fit because
Ghost
again,
Rider would make the most
he's
sense.
someone that has Ghost Rider been on Avengers. Yeah, but when you think
He's
about
not a
yeah,
he's
when
not
you
an
think about the
identifiable
Avengers, you
Avenger.
don't
Yeah,
think about Ghost Rider because
yeah,
most of the time he's doing his own thing.
hmm,
Same with Blade. Blade has been on the Avengers, but Blade does his own thing. So
yeah.
I think Ghost Rider would be a good fit. And now I'm getting to the political side of it. It also, then you putting a Latino in a role, you put boosting their
That's really the one ethnic group that hasn't had their own solo film in Marvel at this point. I feel like everyone else has kind of got their time to shine.
well, I mean, just because like you take away, you like, okay, well, it was a black man coming. Now it's,
Yeah,
we know how
yeah,
it's gonna be, but either
yeah,
way, it's gonna be a bunch of white people in the movie. But
yeah.
again, Robbie Reyes is already there. He's already set up. So it's easy for him to come. I think it would be easy for them to bring him out and make mention of something that he did with the Agents of Shield.
I don't even
Um,
think you have to reference that show. I think nerds like you and me will remember that, but we're so
well,
far removed from Agents of Shield at this point.
we
You could
are,
honestly introduce him
but
and not
the
even
thing
reference that show
is,
and be
they
fine.
want to again because
Okay,
they could have dropped Blade without Blade being in fucking the Eternals.
I think Blade. In order for Blade to get back into the MCU in any capacity, I think he's gonna get the Black Panther treatment of getting introduced in someone else's property and just being like a key figure in that story, kind of like how they
Honestly,
introduced Black
I'd
Panther
be
in Civil
fine with that.
War. And then considering audience reception from there, you give him his own film. But I think as far as getting him in this, saga that we're in, the multiverse saga, Doomsday, Secret Wars, any of that, you can kiss Blade goodbye. He is
You know
not
what? I'm
part of
glad
the
you said
MCU
that
in that
though.
capacity as far as right now.
I think we may get him in that capacity. I don't.
Really?
We're
Okay.
not a solo film,
But
but
just in
I
appearance.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think we may get him.
You don't want to
I,
waste having Mahershala Ali play Blade. I wouldn't. I
let me
personally wouldn't
say
want to waste that.
I hope we get him.
Yeah,
Again, it might not be a solo film. It might just put him in a prominent role in these films. Again,
yeah.
he's been an Avenger.
Hmm.
So maybe I don't know. I'm just saying there we could. What I'm saying is we could still see him in the MCU, but
Yeah.
we're not seeing him with a solo project.
No, I doubt it. And to be honest, kind of going back to Deadpool and Wolverine, if you wanted to have a Blade just pop up for a team up film, you already and we already know they're planning on pulling previous Fox characters into
Into
this world. I mean, I don't know if you saw the rumor. There's a lot of rumors going around, but this rumor's been a consistent one that I've seen. The rumored script for what the Kang Dynasty was supposed to be.
no.
It was supposed to be anchor beings from different universes being brought
Mm.
in to fight Kang, and the other anchor
Mm.
beings were supposed to be Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. It was supposed to be, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider Man, like some of the Fox era heroes. And I don't know for sure they didn't in these rumored scripts. Like I don't know if Wesley Snipes' Blade was specifically mentioned, but he would fit in that group
Yeah.
if that's the route you were trying to go. So honestly, at this point, if you are going to have Blade in that capacity, you've already done it, and
Just
you
bring
could
back
just go back
Wesley.
and get Wesley Snipes at that point because the audience has already seen him on screen as Blade in the MCU and they've liked it, and there's a nostalgia factor there from the fact that when you think Blade, you think Wesley Snipes.
And they said they didn't die at the end of Deadpool 4 or Deadpool 3. They did not die.
That's a smart decision. That's a smart decision, especially with the reception Gambit got.
Yeah.
Once I saw Gambit was getting the reception he was getting, I'm like, those characters are coming back. At least he is, and
Right.
more likely the rest of those characters are coming back as well. So I see a world if we do get Blade in any capacity in this stage of the MCU that we're in, it'll be Wesley Snipes. Honestly, if I'm a Mahershala Ali, I'm telling them to kiss my ass, and I'm going off to do other projects because I'm the quality of actor where I can really do whatever I
Yeah.
want at this point.
Yeah.
And even though I may still have a contract with you, this film's not getting made.
Yeah, you're stopping. You're actively stopping me from making money.
You're preventing me from working on other projects that I could have been working on within the time frame of all this happening, and now you're delaying it even further. So
What,
I
5 years
can't.
at this point?
Yeah, 5 years. It's been a 5 year process now from announcement up until it
Let
now
me
being
see.
taken
You
off the
said
release schedule.
2019. Let me just see what
Yes,
he's done since
and the initial
2019.
release date prior to this was supposed to be 2023. I don't know what time in 2023, but when it was announced 2019, it was announced for a 2023 release date.
Nope, that I spelled Mark. Yeah, let me just go to Luke Cage
You just go to Cottonmouth.
because I cannot spell this man's name.
Let's see. Let me see who can get it up first.
Don't say it like that. Hey, yo!
Hey, wow.
I got it up.
Wow.
I mean, God damn it.
Yeah, pause.
Pause.
Definitely pause. Sheesh.
So
Yeah,
since
that was nuts.
2009, I forgot he was Uncle Aaron in the Spider Verse.
He did voice Uncle Aaron. I forgot
So
about that as well.
2019, in 2019, he was a lead of Battle Angel,
Battle
which
Angel,
was
yeah.
a good movie. True Detective, which I did not see that season of True Detective with him in
Neither
it.
did I.
I think that's Rami. That's the TV show, I believe. Roxanne, another TV show. The Eternals, you know.
Post credits, yeah.
Swan Song, then Spider Verse 2, and then Leave the World Behind in
Yeah.
2023. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And according to
6.
IMDb, he has 2 films coming out in 2025: Jurassic World Rebirth and Wildwood. I'm not familiar who Wildwood is. And he has 6 films currently in production.
You on your phone on IMDb?
Yes. According to IMDb, he has
What are
six
you
films
looking
in
at?
production, or 6 films in 1 film in production and 5 films in development.
Cause
Under upcoming
I'm
projects.
sorry, I'm looking at I'm only looking at released.
Yeah, if you like look at his
I see.
actor profile, it'll
Yeah.
show upcoming projects. So he has 5 films in development. Excuse me, not in production. 5 in development. 1 in production, that being Spider Verse 3.
Yep, I see.
Um,
Yeah.
and I don't see. Granted, some of the films in development obviously don't have release dates, so we don't really know what the progress on those are. But I mean, beyond the Spider Verse, I don't know when that's scheduled to release either. But I imagine it's going to be within the next 2 to 3 years. So, and he's going to need to work on that if they're in production. So they're going to need to record his lines and everything. I just don't see a world where you would fit in an appearance from him as Blade if you just essentially canceled his movie. I don't see at that point you've shown the character is not a priority, and if he is a priority, you just can't get the script right or can't get creative, creative
Yeah.
opinions together, whatever it is. But this is definitely one of the weirder situations we've seen from the MCU iteration of Marvel. We've really never seen this from them, where they just haven't been able to get a film off the ground.
Honestly,
Like,
we have, but it was early MCU. And when I say early MCU, I mean around the time of the Avengers, the first Avengers and
what
that
was the
stuff.
film they couldn't get off the ground? Remind me.
The one they made a fucking TV show that was terrible.
Oh,
Um,
so that's different. If you're talking about Inhumans, because
bro, they had
the
a lot
they
of.
did.
And I'm not saying just that's the first one I can think of, but
Yeah,
if
Inhumans is a good point, but there's a story behind
if
that.
I could find if I could find their schedule
Hmm.
from back then, there were more movies that we should have gotten
I think,
that we
if I'm
didn't.
not mistaken, and this is so long ago, I believe Inhumans was supposed to be Guardians of the Galaxy. Like
Mm,
what ended up being Guardians of the Galaxy, like that was supposed to be Inhumans, and then candidly, I guess what happened, whoever Kevin Feige used to have somebody over him at
mm-hmm.
Marvel, so he had somebody between him and Bob Iger
Yep.
that he had to answer to. Him and that person were not
Did not get
seeing
along.
eye to eye. They weren't seeing eye to eye. That person, whoever, I'm forgetting his name, but that individual was the one that wanted to do Inhumans.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted Inhumans on the release date. Kevin
Yeah,
Feige
he
had
didn't
no
do it
interest
at
in
all.
doing Inhumans. Like Kevin Feige had no interest in doing an Inhumans
So
movie at all.
what I was saying is like there are different reasons, but like since you know since Feige took over, there
Yeah.
mostly everything that they've announced they've released.
Yes.
There
Under
hasn't.
Feige's leadership and Feige, because they moved the guy that was over him, they moved him to the TV show
Mhm.
side, and he was overseeing like the Netflix shows and the Agents of Shield, and he was off doing that. And they just said, "Hey, Kevin Feige, the movies are yours. You the head honcho. Only person you got to answer to is the
Which
CEO.
again is
But this is
why
yours,
they
essentially,
were saying that it wasn't canon because
because it wasn't under Kevin.
they
Yeah, Kevin
didn't
Feige wasn't the one working
you
on
know
it.
but yeah, like I said, it's excuse me, it's more when they say we're releasing something, they release it.
They've released it.
Because again,
Yes.
they spent so X amount of money for this, and it's become a thing
Yeah.
where they're announcing things and then it's out. They're announcing things, then it's out. So they've been
Yes.
keeping that going. Like I said, Comic Con rolls around, New York Comic Con, LA Comic Con rolls around. They
They
release
announce their
something.
slate, and their slate gets
Yeah, their
released.
slate releases. They do
Usually
it
at the
again.
time of they announced it, like, hey, they announced it, it's supposed to come out on this date. Guess what? It comes out on
Yeah.
that date. Only time we saw stuff get pushed back was because of COVID, and everything
Hmm.
got pushed back. But barring global pandemics aside, when they've announced something, it's released on that date. And the only time you can really think of a project that the MCU was supposed to come out with not getting released would be a situation like Eternals 2, where it was kind of a rumor anyway. Like, they never officially put out an announcement saying we were going to get an Eternals
Right.
2.
It was
We
just
just kind of assumed there was going to be based on the
because
way
they
the
told
first
us.
one ended. Yeah. Like, the way the first one ended, and they were saying, like, hey, y'all, we want to do an Eternals 2. But they never released a slate saying, here's Eternals 2, here's the date it's coming out, here's the actors that are
Here's the
going to be in it,
director. We got the
here's the
script.
director, here's the script. You know what I'm
Again,
saying? Like, they never did
Blade.
that for
We
Eternals.
what'd you say? 5 scripts? Yeah,
Five script rewrites and two different
we had
directors.
a script. We had a
Yeah.
director, and boom, 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 boom. And then you gotta think about it, because if they let's say they get another director, he's gonna look at this script. It's gonna be things he want to change. It's
He
gonna be
wants to change. He's not going to be
so.
on board with whatever the script is either. I'm honestly, as much as I'm upset that we're not getting this Blade film because I was really looking forward to it, I'm glad they've decided to just pull the plug because I would rather have no Blade movie than a terrible one.
And they
Honestly,
keep telling me, "Hey, Blade's coming."
yeah. Like
Hey,
at this point,
we're
I
getting a
don't care
Blade.
anymore. I
Yeah,
don't care anymore. Like we're 5 years after the fact. You've released. I just named you all the films and TV shows
and
that they've released
it's
since
not even
then.
like they've. I would see it would be different if it was It wouldn't be different. It would have been worse. Never mind. I was gonna bring up Batwoman. Um, what DC did. No, that
Even that, like,
because that
I feel like that's a different situation because at that point the DCU was already like
it's
kind of
already a
dying.
dumpster. It was already a dumpster
Yeah, it
fire.
was already a dumpster fire by the time they weren't established. I don't think you can really compare the DCU to this situation, even though the DCU was a worse situation, obviously, because
Well, I'm just
you
saying
had whole
how
slates of films that just never happened.
all of
You
them
know what I'm saying? Like
they've ruined careers.
we were supposed to get a Cyborg solo film, never
Ray
happened.
Fisher is
Ray,
fucking. He's
we still
doing.
haven't seen Ray Fisher in a major Hollywood film
He's
since then.
doing Broadway. He's doing
Yeah,
TV shows.
we have not seen Ray Fisher in a Hollywood production since Justice League
That's what I
that
meant
I
to
can
say.
think of.
I would love for Marvel to bring dog aboard. Show him some
That wouldn't be
love.
a bad idea.
And,
I liked him as Cyborg. He was really good. He
he
was very
really
good at Cyborg.
he really got fucked over by Josh Whedon.
Very, bro.
His star wasn't as big as everybody else's,
Hmm.
and
But he was acting right alongside all those people, though. Like acting, and in terms of skill, like he was holding his
mhm,
own amongst Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill, like that, and Jason Momoa. That's impressive to me. Like, and to your point about him getting did wrong by Joss Whedon, like if you watch the Zack Snyder cut of that film and you understand how much more important his character was supposed to be to the story, it's just like wow.
yeah.
Honestly, I really do feel bad for him that Joss Whedon kind of came in and axed what was supposed to be like a coming out party for his character. He was really supposed to be the star of that movie, honestly. And they did him both. So I would like to see Marvel bring him back, like bring him in the fold in some way, maybe to play Blade because they don't have someone to do that now.
I'm
Um,
not.
no, you don't think so?
Again, no, I just don't. Maybe. I don't see it. But again, I said the same thing when Heath Ledger did
Yeah,
did
you and a
Joker.
lot of other people
I
though.
said this. I think I said the same thing when
Everybody was like, the dude from Brokeback Mountain is playing who?
I think when Benedict Cumberbatch was announced as Doctor Strange, because I
I like
again
that
I
casting.
knew he was British, and
Yeah.
I seen him in Sherlock Holmes, which great TV show, love it.
Hmm.
Didn't see him as Strange, you
Yeah,
know.
I had seen him in Star Trek Into Darkness play Khan, and
I
that's when I
forgot
was
he
like,
was kind.
yeah, I was like, that person can play Doctor Strange. Yes, I saw that for sure. But I think where we're at right now, man, the MCU is in a very weird place right now, where it feels like they're in like a kind of like a crossroads, and you're either gonna go left and the train's gonna really go off the tracks, or you're gonna right the ship somehow and get things back on course. I think there's an intention to do that. I think the MCU has realized some of the pitfalls they've had over the past few years of just releasing too much content, throwing a lot of characters out there and not really having a plan or an idea of what to do with them after that, or just throwing characters out, not even really putting effort into those characters. Like I think She Hulk and Moon Knight could have been done a lot better than what they were. You know what I'm saying? So I think the MCU is learning from those mistakes and they're starting to dial back. You heard them say we're only going to be releasing no more than 3 films per year, like we did in our previous model.
And with
Um,
that though, I think
so I think they're going to be making some changes soon,
they,
hopefully.
I think that might be a part of the problem though. They've been making changes. Like you said, they're
Yeah,
cutting back on the number of properties that they're putting out or what they're putting out. But there's too much of a pivot right now, and I'm gonna say that's surrounding that whole Jonathan Majors.
I mean that and
They
that too. That's a huge change.
they are they
They're pivoting
completely
everything.
changing it.
Yeah.
That changed their whole storyline, and again, there were already rewrites and stuff going on with Blade. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know, because again, now everything does have to be reformatted.
Yeah.
They got to go back and rethink all these things, and then like you said, they are putting out less, but they're trying to make the quality better, and unfortunately, Blade is what's suffering because of it.
Yeah, I think Deadpool and Wolverine was a leap, of kind of like a good reset. I think for the MCU to kind of get back on track a little bit, and I think you'll see some higher quality project coming from the MCU going forward. Since that, at least that's my hope. And I think that they just kind of looked at Blade and said, where does this fit in this change of direction that we're
Hmm.
making? 'Cause you got to keep at the time Blade was announced, the intention was for Kang to be the big villain, and Eternals was probably supposed to have a planned sequel at that point. Like the MCU looked very different at the time that Blade was announced versus now.
I will
So
also give you. I don't see him, and again, I brought it up, but I don't see him fighting Kang.
I don't see a lot of people. I didn't honestly, given what the iteration of the Avengers was that we were supposed to get in Kang. Granted, everything is rumors and
Right.
speculation, and oh, I heard from this source, so we don't truly know what Kang was supposed to be. but given the characters that we know were supposed to be in play, like we know Chang Xing's rings are supposed to be in play, the Bengals from Ms. Marvel were supposed to be in play. Like, there aren't really any characters that we were supposed to get that I go like that character could be Kang. I didn't see any. Like, they were all kind of like mid tier heroes, you know what I'm saying? In comparison to the Avengers we have seen,
The only
they were
person
mid tier heroes.
was Captain Marvel. Honestly,
That's it. Like,
Captain Marvel, and maybe what's Monica Rambeau's hero name?
That is a great question.
Whenever
I'm
she,
forgetting that. I'll watch the Marvels eventually, and I'll be able to tell you.
you still haven't
I'll watch the Marvels eventually and tell you.
Bro, please
But
go
I
watch.
don't know.
Please watch this movie before next week. It's so much better than one. It's
And
so much
people,
better than the first one, but it's so
okay.
much better than the reviews.
The
I
reviews
enjoyed
like
it.
make it sound horrible.
It makes it
Like,
sound. It's
yeah,
so much better than the first one. It's so much better than the reviews. On top of that, like I said, you already know about the Easter egg at the end with
yeah.
she
I
runs
spoiled
into her
myself.
mom and Beast from the X-Men. Because again, they were setting up this universe
That's another
with
thing too,
with
though.
Kang.
With this pivot,
How are they?
I think things are probably going to turn and be a lot more X-Men centric. I think I have this is just me speculating. I think that this pivot the MCU is going through is going to turn and be a lot more, obviously Fantastic Four, because we already know we're getting that
Mhm.
film, but I think it's going to be very Fantastic Four and X-Men centric. I think that's what this next stage of the MCU is going to be. I'm willing to bet after Doctor Doom is defeated, we get a post credit scene with Apocalypse or something. Like, I could just see that being where we're headed at this point. So I think there's, like I said, when Marvel kind of looked at their slate and just the current state of the MCU and thinking about where they want to go versus what they had previously planned, they probably looked at this Blade project and said this film was made for a version of the MCU that we're not
Mhm.
continuing with anymore. You know what I'm saying? Think about where Blade was introduced. The film that we've heard his voice in, it's not even getting a sequel. That film's not getting a sequel anymore. When originally it supposedly was supposed to, have one. We were supposed to get Black Knight. We haven't heard a shred of news about
Well,
that character
again,
since then.
I don't think we were ever going to get a solo Black Knight film.
We were supposed to get him in event. You're right. I don't think we were supposed to get a solo film of him either. I'd have been surprised if they did that.
Yeah.
We were supposed to get something with that character in it.
But also, that would have been like getting a Black Widow movie.
It would have been like getting a Shang-Chi movie. Like, there's a lot of characters, like getting a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Like, you can't, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of characters that probably shouldn't have had solo films that do. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one in their right mind at the start of the MCU would have been said, like, yeah, they're gonna make a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one really saw that coming. So a Black Knight film could have happened, but regardless, we've heard no news about that character since then. We know we're not getting Blade
Nothing.
anymore. We're supposedly not getting Eternals 2 anymore. So I feel like the Marvel just kind of looked at the slate and said, like I said, the version of the MCU that Blade was supposed to exist in, we're not making that anymore. And this film is in production hell. So why are we still doing all of this to try to make it
And
happen?
I think that it's more
Just let it
so.
go.
I think it's like I said. I think it's more so that than. I think it's exactly that. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's been production hell or development hell. Shit,
Yeah.
make it
Yeah,
to
I was say they haven't
production.
even got to the production part
On
yet.
top
So
of
development
being,
hell.
in development hell, like I said, the entire no matter how involved he was going to be, Marvel still ties their movies together.
Yeah.
Again, the Marvels tie together to this. Fucking the Sony movie, the Spider-Man movies tie together with it.
Yeah, I have a very I can't wait to do our review of Venom. I have a lot of theories, but keep going.
So so they all tie together, and it, as little as I think he was going to be involved, it's still he was still going to be involved on
Hmm.
top, and then there's been so many issues. We can't
Yeah.
get a director. We can't get a good script.
Mahershala Ali's pissed at us.
The only
Like,
the only thing we have is, and they did have a Lilith cast in the script. They had a cast already. You know,
okay.
we
Yeah,
had.
I think Mia Goth was supposed to play Lilith, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me see if I left it up.
But I
Yep,
know there
Mia
were
Goth.
certain characters. Yeah, I know there were certain characters
You
that
know,
were
so
that were already casted. So yeah,
I got the protagonist and I got
I got the
the
villain.
antagonist.
Yeah,
Of the film. That's it. No script or I'm sorry, I'm gonna say half done script or three
Yeah,
quarters of the way done script, and no
yeah.
director. I
Like
can't make a movie
that's
with that.
it. You can't at all. It's disappointing. But like I said, if you've been paying attention to this story at all, you saw this announcement coming. I don't think anyone in their right mind, after they lost their second director, thought that they're going to make that November release date of next year. It just wasn't happening. So let us know you guys' thoughts on where the MCU is at right now, and how impactful do you think that Blade being taken off the release schedule, how much do you think that's going to impact the MCU? Is it going to impact it a little bit or not at all? Are you, like us, disappointed with the news that we're not getting a Blade movie? Are you happy because you didn't care? Or are you happy because you wanted to see a good Blade movie and you knew that whatever they were going to get out of this at this point probably wasn't going to be a quality film with all the things they're going through? So jump in the comments, let us know your thoughts. Always remember to like and subscribe. Until next time, it's the Real Fanatics. Peace.